Nakwani, Wig Wilson, Onikisak, all of that good stuff. Good to see you all, family. Neesu Wushuwunoag, Director General, Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. I believe this is my first video of the new Gregorian year. We're in 2023 by the Gregorian standards. So for those of you who celebrate, Happy Gregorian New Year. Of course, for those of us who are on the traditional sort of wavelength, we know that our New Year isn't for a couple more moons. But for those who do celebrate, Happy Gregorian New Year to you. So haven't touched base in a bit, but thought that this was an opportune time to do just that, primarily because I'm taking a ride up to Boston right now to get some paperwork done as we move off into becoming a licensed attorney. But as usual, usually put a video out when there are some topics of import or interest that we think would be of benefit to the general public in terms of having a little bit more context and understanding of. And this one in particular is pretty pertinent right now because it just seems to pop up every once in a while and we have to address it again. So that is all of these Pan-Aboriginal groups that are popping up. And it's frustrating because this has been sort of the key element that we at FAUNA have been asserting since the very beginning, and that is that any power, authority, rights, any of that from an indigenous side or a tribal side starts with your family. It starts with your family. It starts with your family because that's what tribes are. Groups of families that are together. And I say that it's frustrating because I personally recently had to do a post just raising awareness about another Pan-Aboriginal group that popped up. And it seems that what's going on is people are viewing the structure of FAUNA without fully understanding the nuance and specificity that is in place before you can get to anything like a FAUNA, and simply saying, well, we're gonna skip all of the hard work and details and just jump right to the end conclusion, and we're gonna create this United Nations of Aboriginal whatever nonsense, or an Aboriginal Republic of, and all of this is just stupidity. At this point, I'm gonna call it that, stupidity, because it is common sense, or it should be at this time at least, common sense to understand that it's your bloodlines that are what is going to give you the authority. We've laid all of this out. When they came, the reason why they colonized, the reason why they misclassified, the reason why they enslaved was to move people away from their rights to the land, move those indigenous nations, those families away from their rights to the land. So even these terms that we use, whether it be Indian, Aboriginal, or autochthonous, whatever the case may be, all of them to a certain extent or another erode and degrade, erode and degrade the status of the families that were here in these lands when European colonists arrived. So it's all about the family. All of the rights and authorities come from the family, and you have to get back to the family in order to even start to have any sort of fruitful dialogue. Now, the other side is this, and this is what's frustrating as well. Once people find out their family and their heritage, they automatically assume that they're almost like Superman when it comes to the U.S. I'm an Indian now. I found out who my people are, therefore that means. And my question is, it means what? What exactly does that mean? And then what will end up happening most of the time is questions will start getting asked. So I'll ask a question, well, what does that mean? And instead of getting a response, I get questions back. Well, didn't the white man do this? And didn't that happen? And didn't, and the answer to all of those questions might be yes, but you still haven't answered my question. What does any of that have to do with you now that you found out who your heritage is? A lot of us, even though we'll say things like black's just a color and you can't be a color, will then turn around and do the same exact thing that we were doing with black with the term Aboriginal or autochthonous or examining phenotypes. I've seen people look at the original indigenous populations in Mexico, and because they have a similar skin tone, say that's us. But these people have never been to Mexico. So how is that you if you have no blood connections there? And ultimately what's going on is people are just doubling down on the same colonial strategies that were used against them, but trying to justify it and validate it by the color of their skin or by the fact that they went through that experience. And my question to anyone who's doing that is, doesn't that make you worse than the ones who originally colonized? For you to complain about how colonization impacted you, but then to do your best to turn around and apply that same mindset and same strategy to other folks. And why are you doing it? For the same reason that quote unquote white folks did it to you, right? Because of your skin tone, because of your phenotype, because of how you look. So the logic escapes me of complaining about Euro-colonization, but then turning and acting just like European colonists and justifying it because you were colonized by Europeans. It's cyclical thinking, and it's not legitimate. And I would argue, perhaps most importantly, it's not lawful. There's no sort of remedy in that mindset. And what it does further is it opens you up to be taken advantage of. So when you look at an organization like an ARNA, the Aboriginal Republic of North America, what you find is that there is no legitimacy to any of their claims because they have no specific lands that they're tying to. They have no authority to make claims on other people's lands. So if you have no lands that are yours and you have no authority in anyone else's lands, how do you have an Aboriginal Republic? And then peep the language of North America. That's all English and that's all colonial. That means that you don't exist until North America exists, which means you don't exist until Europeans get here. Now, let's take FAUNA, the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. Our claim is that we are a confederation of Aboriginal nations. Aboriginal nations, so nations that were here before Europeans arrived to colonize. And how do we know that? Well, because we're tied to specific lands. Because we each have specific bloodlines that are tied to our nations that let us know who is and who is not a part of our nation. Because there are historical experiences that our oral tradition speaks about and that this European historical sources account of that lets you know that we are the specific group of people that they were referring to as Narragansett, Pokanoket, Nipmuc, Skadure, Yuchi, Taino. We are those people. Not because we read something, not because you can look at us and we look similar, but because we are those people. And when you are those people, then there's no need to be aggressive. There's no need to be overly confrontational. And there's no need to generalize. Your power comes in your specificity when you are those people. Because if you're those people, then no one else is. which means no one else can speak to your experience. No one else can claim your history. And that is what will validate and legitimize all of the things that you're saying. And now when we talk about the Confederation part, what FAUNA is it's nations that all have that specific history and heritage and rights coming together to say, hey, we're stronger working collectively and unified than we are trying to do things on our own. Now notice that it's individual nations that have already substantiated who they are and what their rights are that are coming together to unify, to do things that are collectively good for all of the nations. That is different than individuals with no connection to their nation deciding to get together and just try to form something new because they don't want to take the time to acknowledge who their ancestors are. They don't want to take the time to learn about what their nation's experience was. Or, and this is the part that really gets me, they don't like the relationships and the agreements that their nation made in the past. So they just want to step away from that and they want to try to do their own thing. And they want to try to find other people that want to do their own thing with them. And I'll ask, how's that any different than what the American colonists did when they broke away from the British Crown? So
in 2 miles, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 26 for I-93 north toward Boston.
There's really no difference in how they're conducting themselves now and how the original Americans were conducting themselves when they arrived here underneath the initial authority of the British or the English, whichever one it is. I always get it mixed up. So this Pan-Aboriginal stuff isn't gonna work because it's not grounded in any legitimate rights that would supersede A, the tribal nations that were here first, or B, the US, which was the seceder to the English authorities and rights to be over in these lands. You're the third in line. So why on earth would your new republic or new nation have any more authority or legitimacy than anything that came before it? It wouldn't. So in which case, what exactly is it that you're looking to achieve by the things that you're doing? And once again, what I found is people just don't want to put in the time and energy and efforts. People don't want to play their position. People want to be the chief, not the Indian. So they don't want to get with their nation. They don't want to honor their...
In half a mile, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 26 for I-93 north toward Boston.
That is saying what they want to hear so that they can be the number one in their life. They can self-proclaim themselves to be whatever they want, including chiefs. They can
use the right 2 lanes to take exit 26.
All of quote-unquote Turtle Island as their own because the melody...
Continue on I-93 north for 7 miles.
All it really is when you get down to it, it's a mix of Pan-Aboriginal with sovereign citizen with Moorish national, and because those didn't work the way people wanted them to, now they're trying to sprinkle being indigenous on top of it. So when all of the other stuff doesn't work the way you want it to, grab the indigenous package all of the nonsense up, and say that it's now all legitimate because you're an Aboriginal, autochthonous, copper-colored, indigenous, original American. And this is the mentality that's going on while people want tribes out west to respect them. While people want those of us, because this is the thing that's coming out now, the Indians with paper. It is so insane to me because what paper are you talking about? But the Indians who actually have taken the time and put in the effort to find out who their people are, to know what their heritage is, and then to reconnect with their actual nation. Now we're bougie Indians. And all it really is an attempt for these individuals to place themselves at the number one in whatever they're going through. So, if they haven't taken the time to learn about their history, well, that's fine, because that doesn't matter, because they're a copper-colored Aboriginal, and those are the original folks of America. All right, so now you've taken the time to actually find who your tribal nation heritage is, but you don't want to connect with the nation because, oh, those federally recognized tribes, you know, oh, I'm not trying to be involved with them because, you know, they only let lighter skin. You see what I'm saying? And then, now you make the connection with the tribe. Now you do whatever, but you don't like your position in the tribe.
There's a 23-minute slowdown in 5 miles. You are still on the best route.
So all of it at the end of the day is just more examples of ego, more examples of narcissism, more examples of Euro colonization, and more examples of just an American mindset being played out by people who, it seems, aren't necessarily against colonization. They're just against being the ones who were colonized. That's what it seems like. They're not against colonizing people. They're just upset that they were the ones that were colonized. Because what do you see them doing, like Honor and all them? Pretty much forming corporations, right? And then trying to transition the corporations over into nations, which is the same thing that they complain that the white Europeans did. So once again, they're not upset about the colonization itself. They're not upset that Europeans went around and utilized corporations to strip indigenous folks all around the world of their rights and of their lands. They're upset that they weren't the ones who got to do that. They're upset that they weren't the ones who got to do that. And I don't trust people like that. I don't care if they're skin folk. I don't care if they've got the blood. I don't trust people who only have an issue with colonization because of the fact that they were colonized. I don't trust people who would just as soon switch positions and be happy in the role that European colonization is in right now, so long as they could benefit. That's not traditional. That's not the way. That's not the spirit of the original people that I meet and that I interact with on a regular basis. I don't know anyone, no matter which nation they're coming from, who's traditional, who honors the path that their ancestors walked, who honors their relationship with the Most High. I don't know one indigenous person who's like that, whose goal is just to switch it up and take on the role of the colonist, but will utilize their experience as a way to play victim. I don't know many traditional Indians. I don't know any traditional Indians, because they wouldn't be traditional if they were acting like that. And when I see a lot of folks who may have the bloodline, may have been misclassified, definitely were colonized, because we all are, when I see them gravitating towards that and advocating for that and embracing that, I step away.
In half a mile, keep left to continue on I-93 North, US 1 North. Follow signs for State Route 3 North, Boston.
The spirit's not correct, and I don't care what it looks like on the outside if the spirit's not correct on the inside. So I bring all that back to these Pan-Aboriginal groups because, like I said, that's what's going on.
Keep left to continue on I-93 North.
Nothing different. The reason why it's nothing different is because all the...
Continue on I-93 North for 10 miles.
The same colonial behavior against the nations whose lands they're in. When you claim to be the Aboriginal Republic of North America, you're now claiming you have jurisdiction here in Nunhignuck territory. If we lost 60% of our populations here in the Northeast fighting against Euro colonization, what on earth makes you think we're going to let people slide because they're calling themselves FAUNA? If you're not Nanhignuk, if you're not Nipmuc, Massachusetts, apologies got cut off. If you're not Nanhignuk, Nihantic, Poke, then these are not your lands. Doesn't matter what your skin tone looks like. Doesn't matter if your people got enslaved as well. Doesn't matter. These aren't your lands. So the notion that because we went through something similar, that would give you the right to create a new organization, ignore the people that were here and who have been here fighting for their lands, and conduct yourself the same way that American society does in our lands because you're the copper-colored. There's nothing more colonial than that. Plain and simple. It's colonized behavior. So don't do it. Don't do it. That's the ultimate point that I'm making. And revisiting this point, this video, and this is the point that FAUNA's been making since the beginning. Stop all of these shortcuts. Let me get there the fastest. Let me link up with people that think just like me. Because let me ask, if tribes are families and I'm with my family, why would I put my family in the potential jeopardy of dealing with someone who, A, we don't know from a hole in the wall, and B, won't get with their own family? You want me to connect my family with someone who won't connect with their own family? Because we're all a similar skin tone. Think about that logic. And you won't go get with your own family, the people you're actually blood related to. As a matter of fact, you'll probably talk badly about them. Oh, nah, my family this, my family that. They don't be this, they don't be that. So that you can fit in with people you know nothing about and have no connection to. Talk badly about your own people that you do have a connection to go link up with people that you have no connection to. Because, what, you can be the leader over there, but you can't be the leader back home because you got to check in with your older cousins, with your older brothers, with your uncles, with your aunts, with your grandma, with your grandpa. You can't be the leader. You can't be the chief over there. So you're not going to go there. What you are going to do is talk badly about them and then try to find another space where you can be that. No. And that's exactly what traditional nations who have their rights and who are respected see and think when they see that nonsense. They don't think, oh, okay, those are the people who were classified, misclassified, and marginalized, trying to, make the best out of the situation. That's in your mind. That's what you think you're doing. That's how you've justified what you're doing in your mind. But to traditional nations, all it looks like is more Euro-colonial behavior. You're not speaking your language. You're not with your own people. You're not respecting the boundaries and the rights of other nations. You're acting just like Americans, but claiming that America has victimized and colonized you. You can't have it both ways. If America has victimized and colonized you, then you need to be decolonizing, which means getting away from those ways and from how those sorts of things interact with each other and interact with you. You should not be doubling down on them, but simply trying to switch positions with the people who were doing it to you. That's not it. This Pan-Aboriginal nonsense needs to go out the door. If you're too ashamed or too proud to go and connect with your family, if it's too difficult, then just leave the Indian stuff alone. Leave the indigenous stuff alone. Leave the Aboriginal stuff alone. You can do whatever you're doing as an American. The same mindset you have now to learn about the law, and you could have did that without being an Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous, copper-colored, whatever. So why do you need to sprinkle the indigenous stuff on it to do what you should have been doing in the first place? If you don't want to get back with your family, if you don't want to mend those bridges that have been torn down, if you don't want to help your own blood be better, then just leave the Indian stuff alone. Go be an American. That's what the society's here for. Everyone to do their individual thing, be whatever they want so far as they can get, and do things for themselves. That's what being American's all about. But if you're trying to transition over, if it's more than just a fad, something you're trying to utilize to get some benefits from, if it's deeper than that, then it starts with your family, point blank. And you finding out what the role is in your family. What is your role in your family to help get your family organized? To help get, maybe you're not the chief. Maybe you're not the clan chief of your family or of your clan. Who is? And how can you support them? What's the problem with being a warrior? And I repeat, going out, forming bands. And I want everyone to look that up, because it's not a tribe or a nation that's being formed when people conglomerate. It's a band. And a band has a different legal definition than a tribe or a nation. Bands don't even have to be Indians. They don't even have to be the same race. Maybe that's why a lot of you are banding up, because you realize that you don't necessarily have the bloodlines and you're still trying to fit in. And once again, how colonial, right? The new $5 Indians. A lot of the new $5 Indians look like me and you, but they're pointing fingers at quote unquote white folks for doing before them what they're trying to do now. Leave the pan stuff alone. Honor your own family. Honor your own heritage. Find out what your position is and what your role is in your community, and help your community, your tribe, your family move forward. Once you've got your family together, now you're in a position to talk to other families, other tribes, other nations. And that's when the unity comes in. But you can't skip all of the details and necessary work that leads up to that because you don't want to do it, because you don't feel like you should have to, because you're a cop, whatever that nonsense is. I don't even care what's coming out of people's mouths at this point. It's foolishness. And you don't get a pass because you're skin folk. And you don't get a pass because you were misclassified. And you don't get a pass because some of your ancestors were enslaved. I had someone tell me, oh, my family members was at the boarding schools. Well, much respect to your family members, but a lot of us had family members that were in boarding schools. How does that make you special? How does that pull you out of what everyone's supposed to do? Leave the arrogance and the narcissism alone. If you're coming, trying to really honor and get back to the culture, the heritage and all that, come with humility, come with authenticity, acknowledge who you are, acknowledge the state of affairs that your family's in, and work on your family. All of this generic linking up with people that you have no blood connection to is going to lead you nowhere but potentially on a domestic terrorist list. That's what's awaiting you. That's what's awaiting you. I had these same conversations with the leader of the Rise of the Moors before that whole situation happened. Everyone was attacking me then. I'm just jealous. I'm this, I'm that, or the other. Where's the brother at now? But where's FAUNA at? And what have you seen the nations of FAUNA doing? Have you seen us getting attacked by police? Have you seen FBI calling us and telling us that they're watching us? Why do you think that is? I'll tell you why it is. Because we actually are the people that we say we are, and we're moving in accordance with what the law requires. Not the white man's law, the law. And when you understand the law, like so many of us seem to be starting to do now, then you understand that when you're on the right side of the law, it's a much smoother process and engagement. So let me leave my ramblings there. I'm hoping that you all are blessed this day. I'm in the Boston area, almost to my destination. But leave that Pan-Aboriginal stupidity alone. Who are your family and your tribe? How are you helping out your specific bloodlines and your specific communities where you're at? And why would someone else from a different family want to link their family up with you when you don't want to even link up with your family? What is the logic behind these sorts of positions that people are taking? And why are people so gung-ho about them when they get challenged on them? I'm really starting to question people now, because this is common sense stuff. And I bumped into so many people who, when this gets explained to them, the light bulb goes off and they're on the path to doing what they need to do. So now I'm really questioning the ones who keep wanting to push back and keep wanting to see if they can find to be really honest, are you even Indians? Because there were a lot of East Indians from over in Hindustan that came here during the colonial period. A lot of Atlantic Creoles, a lot of Moors, and a lot of West Africans that came over here during the colonization period in various forms, and they looked a lot like the Indians look today. So I could care less about your copper-colored skin tone. I could care less about the misclassification. And when I say care less, I mean in terms of you having any special rights or privileges out of it. A lot of us went through that. Who are you? Who are your ancestors? How do I know that you are actually blood of these lands? Because your skin tone and your hair texture ain't gonna cut it. Leave the pan stuff alone. Focus on specificity, on engaging with your people, your bloodlines, your heritage, where your people were at, and what your people went through. And in knowing about yourself specifically, you'll put yourself in a position to be able to engage with other people with specific experiences and rights. And when that connection's made, there's the unity that everyone's looking for. So let me stop it there. Hoping you all have a blessed day. As you see this, please take into account what I'm saying. Inevitably, someone's going to be in the comment section trying to give me their 2 cents around why they feel or what they think. And let me just tell you right now, I do not care anymore. I'm here for the people that have the right to change what happened to them and have the right spirit to see the change through. Those are the people I'm here for. The copper-colored nonsense is madness. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm Nunhignuk. Don't come to me with any of that foolishness. Come to me with who you are so we can understand each other's experiences, make connections with each other's culture, and then start to figure out where and how we can start to move forward in unity to address the issues that have been going on. Katapatush, Wushuwunoag, thank you for listening. Wuni Mistitu, good medicine. Kapish Kanash. And I hope to see you all soon. I hope.